Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January 31st, 2018, and this is Before the First Cup with Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is a chilly 17 degrees and overcast and cloudy here in upstate New York. I actually tried to get up this morning to see the super blue blood moon, and that hasn't happened in the United States since 1866 this morning. But I woke up and it was a very full moon, and just as the eclipse and the bloodness was supposed to start, it started to settle down over the horizon and then move behind the trees, so I didn't get to see any of it. So where did we leave off yesterday? We titled the show Be Exponential, Be a Tool, Creativity, Mental AI, and Synthetic Synapses. We have been looking at this march toward not only automating everything on our planet, but this technocracy that the technology is going to become. It is the net they're dropping over us to be able to bag, tag, and track everything that exists. Well, today, I ran across, actually last night, and then finished it off this morning, a couple different mini documentaries, about 15 minutes apiece, from AJ Plus on YouTube, and that is the media division of the Al Jazeera network. I'm sure anyone who's been around this alternative media field for a while remembers Al Jazeera. They actually used to put out some pretty decent news, and then, I don't know, they decided to bring over an official branch of news like RT has to the United States, and all of a sudden they got blocked on YouTube for being not appropriate for my country or whatever, so I don't know what that was all about, but I was never really able to get their broadcasts anymore. I think they have a cable network now, so maybe that was why, or a cable channel on the cable network. But Al Jazeera is out of Qatar, so it's kind of like a neutral place where they put high-level royal prisoners in hotels. But I have to say that they did a pretty good job looking at automation and the coming of robots to take the jobs and what that is going to do to America and the middle class. And I thought we could share that today. I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon. It's going to be cutting up pretty close if I go live. So we're going to do this instead. I'll try to be live either tomorrow or Friday. Not sure which. We'll see how I feel. All right, so the three clips we're going to hear is Robots and AI. The future is automated and every job is at risk, part one. Second piece is A Tale of Two Cities, how smart robots and AI will transform America. And part three is called Robots and Universal Basic Income, how to solve the coming automation crisis. So a lot of good food for thought. They have made it very clear in this, and you can actually see a lot of what is going on the streets and what people are seeing in the industry as to what is coming in the future. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. I couldn't talk for 10 minutes, which is what I needed to fill the space. So we might have to pad it with a little bit of music. You gotta love Jewel music first thing in the morning. All right, try to have an awesome Wednesday, and I will catch up with you in the next day or so. Everybody take care.
We are essentially entering a new industrial revolution.
We're going to wipe out millions of jobs in the United States.
Well, how far we are going to go could easily be that everything that really can be automated.
I don't think it would be responsible to just let the consequences rip, and then we find that large numbers of people are displaced and miserable and angry and well-armed, and we just figure, well, let's see what happens.
We're going to need machines that can go up and down stairs, go through hallways and doorways, handle broken concrete, and just generally go where people go.
I'm at a robotics show at the forefront of what is quickly becoming reality.
Can you really push it around? Can I give it a shot?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's pretty awesome.
It's going to start to be a pretty commonplace thing to see robots trundling around. in buildings, on the streets, etc. And that's only going to grow and grow and grow.
Jonathan Hurst spun this company out of his robotics research at Oregon State University.
In general, people's lifestyles are going to change, and that's going to change the way cities look, too.
This is a story about how robots will affect jobs. But first, we need to understand how far artificial intelligence and robotics have already come. Warehouses and factories are being run by robots as the lights are turned off to save on energy costs. Sensors that power autonomous movement are much faster than ever before. Cars and planes are operating by themselves. Robots are doing fine detail work and responding to our every move. They're entering the service sector, displacing fast food workers and baristas.
In 5 to 10 years' time, robotics is going to disappear from our awareness because it is going to be what all of our smart products have and do.
Robots are replacing jobs like security guards with self-driving surveillance vehicles.
I said step away from the machine.
Seriously. Hey.
5, 4, 3.
What, really?
2.
We're not all the way there. This company had a few public mishaps, like this robot suicide in a fountain. I asked the CEO about it.
You're never going to learn without actually being out in the field.
So the kinks are getting worked out quickly, and today it's impossible to see such futuristic technology without wondering about the impact on jobs. An endless array of robots are entering our everyday lives. Pair that with advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, 3D printing, and the changes are hard to comprehend. Worldwide, 800 million jobs could be automated by 2030. In the United States, up to 73 million jobs are at risk. Changes like these have taken place throughout history, like the industrialization of agriculture. Only this time, it's on a far faster timescale. Jonathan said he, too, has concerns about job displacement.
Definitely something that can be handled well, as long as governments and policymakers are aware of these changes that are happening and planning for it and preparing for it.
You think we're doing that?
I do not think that we're doing that at present.
Numerous companies turned down requests to talk about the effects automation will have on employment.
You don't want to write a banner over your company logo, "We are America's job killers," correct? So, that's the last thing that you want to do.
And one of America's biggest job killers may be driverless vehicles, already driving on our roads. This promo video shows Google's subsidiary, Waymo, operating self-driving vehicles on the road without a driver to take the wheel if something goes wrong. But companies like Google, Toyota, Tesla, GM, and Uber declined to discuss innovation or jobs, even as they greenlit the use of these promotional videos.
We're recreating a scenario where we've had a pickup truck drive along the track and actually dump some hay bales out of the back randomly. So what you're going to see is our car senses, does a safe lane change, senses the next one, and also then changes back.
The vehicles are arriving faster than many might expect. GM announced that a vehicle without any human controls would hit the streets in 2019, and Uber placed an order for up to 24,000 self-driving Volvos last year.
The task for society with regard to car driving, Uber drivers, taxi drivers, truck drivers, is to think about what we want to do with people who are displaced.
It's not hard to picture the Uber and Lyft-based gig economies collapsing as self-driving cars arrive. Every day, those drivers are giving companies the valuable data needed to automate. Many in the gig economy are unwittingly teaching artificial intelligence how to do their jobs. 3% of the American workforce drives for a living, and that doesn't include hotels along highways, truck stops, restaurants, and other support jobs. Total trucker salaries alone add up to $300 billion per year. So it should come as no surprise that Uber got into the trucking business by building a technology platform for delivering freight and by buying an automated truck startup called Otto.
If you're a truck driver right now and you haven't started thinking of getting some extra training, education or so, then you're in a difficult position.
So I went to meet up with some truckers at the Great American Trucking Show in Dallas, Texas. Trucker Brown was instantly recognizable because of his prolific YouTube page.
This is Trucker Brown. Hello. You got a little dog right here.
What's going on?
He does videos on everything about trucking, and that includes automation.
This was an avenue for people to go in to pull themselves out of poverty and have a middle-class job and an honest wage. And they want it to be gone.
It's hard to overstate the importance of an entry-level, middle-class job for millions of Americans.
Every person that I see here is taking care of 4 other people, their family. Every single person you see. And that shows you how much trucking is feeding the country.
For Trucker Brown, the profession has given him a middle-class lifestyle where there are few other options.
When I first seen automated trucks, the first thing I thought is, what else could I do? And I ended up being homeless a few times and trying to find my way. My granddad was a trucker. My father's a trucker. I have 3 brothers that are truckers. My aunt's a trucker. If it becomes automated, that's gone. Then what are the blue collar of America supposed to do?
At the truck show, I met up with Todd Spencer, Executive Vice President of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association.
For the vast majority of the population, they really have no comprehension of just how essential trucks and truckers are.
Trucking is the most common job in 29 U.S. states.
It's really difficult to think that this is something that could be automated very quickly or very easily.
Like Todd, few of the truckers at the show believe automated trucks will arrive within the next decade.
Anybody who does technical backing into docks or driving in inner cities, automated trucks, good luck to them.
There's a lot of places to get into, so I don't think an automated truck can probably get into that place.
Nationwide, it's starting to sink in. A recent poll found that 72% of Americans expressed concerns about robots taking their jobs.
When it's cheaper to replace a worker with a robot, then eventually it'll happen.
Brown drives with LaShawn Parks, who also has a YouTube channel. They largely agree on the dangers of automated trucking.
Everything's automated. Everything's automated. So now you took my above the poverty line job. I say I'll just go work at a burger joint, and that's automated too. The thing is, when does it stop?
A 2016 White House report estimated that 1.3 to 1.7 million truck drivers are at risk for job automation. Add in taxis, chauffeurs, delivery trucks, and other drivers, and that number rises to 3.1 million. And even though Trucker Brown and LaShawn have an idea of what's coming, there's still healthy skepticism.
But I don't see how it can get through bad weather and icy roads and things like that. I just don't see it happening.
At the end of the day, to me, I still believe that a driver is going to be needed to be in that truck.
It's actually a common argument for automation, letting robots do tasks that are repetitive, boring, and unhealthy. The service industry is also transforming. From line cooks to baristas to servers, jobs are changing overnight.
What Zoom is doing is using automation to eliminate tasks. Tasks that are unsafe, tasks that are boring, tasks that are repetitive. And what we're doing is we're elevating the occupation. So we're thinking about task automation versus occupational automation.
Bigger brands are catching on. Pizza Hut just announced driverless delivery and claimed that it could actually create more jobs. Julia Collins, the CEO of Zoom Pizza, took us through some of the efficiencies of the process.
And now we're using a vision system to monitor the path of the pizza. This is a pizza that gets our spicy sauce. Giorgio dispenses classic sauce. Marta is our sauce spreading robot. This is everyone's favorite robot. So we have a robot that never drops pizza, and he never gets burned. The line is optimized to do as many as 360 pizzas in an hour. That's really quite fast.
Zoom Pizza is not alone in trying to change the industry.
Well, there are a lot of tasks in food preparation that are highly repetitive and low productivity. So anything that's like doing the same thing over and over again, or moving a box around, or moving a cup around, a lot of those things can be automated.
Even historically safe, stable, white-collar jobs like doctors, lawyers, and bankers are at risk.
There are a lot of people who think this is all about blue-collar work. It is not.
We already use services like TurboTax to replace tax advisors.
At least your taxes are free.
Amazon's Alexa and Apple's Siri have taken on secretarial tasks and much more.
Hey Siri, read my schedule.
You have 25 appointments at 7:15.
Artificial intelligence is making inroads on the legal profession, financial sector, and the medical world.
We need to start thinking about what's going to happen when large numbers of highly skilled and narrow-skilled human white-collar workers are displaced.
Hello there. My name is Mova. Welcome to Heroes. You can get to know me and all I can do over the next minute and a half.
The medical field is huge. In service robotics, if you want to identify a key area of growth, it will be in the medical field. That is where everything is going.
Movo is a research robot launching this year, and other robots have already made advances in medicine. Some surgeries have been transformed by robotics, and I tried out one of those machines.
Okay, how's this work? All right, so go ahead and put your head in. So this system will detect your head presence, and so it will allow you to...
Jobs in fields like medicine and law will be just as affected by software we can't see than robots we can. Techies are in a race to replace jobs like radiologists, who spend much of their time looking at medical scans.
Right now, we're able to read images about 10,000 times faster than human radiologists. So you can see that we just processed 765 studies. That's about 2 days' worth of work for a normal radiologist. And we were able to process it in about 46 seconds.
Kevin Lyman is lead scientist at Enlytic, a startup working to redefine the role of a radiologist.
Deep learning is essentially a series of algorithms for trying almost every possible combination, and what it ultimately arrives at is just an equation.
I asked Kevin if his work could cause radiologists to lose their jobs.
AI, for us, is creating a lot of jobs for radiologists and other doctors. Training AI to effectively do this is an enormously difficult task.
So today I have to go to the doctor. Tomorrow there'll be artificial intelligence software that analyzes the information. That will keep track of my heart rates, my bloods. AI software will know hundreds of millions of people. So it will have much better knowledge than our doctors do.
This is all happening faster than expected, and many of these techie dreams are already within sight.
I've got a 4-year-old kid and a 9-month-old kid, and the things that I know about their future, they're never going to learn how to drive a car.
When people worry about cars being hacked or driving into people, they often forget the daily toll that could be avoided. The World Health Organization estimates that 1.25 million people die each year in traffic accidents. In the United States, that number is 34,000.
I don't want a human driving my car or flying the plane, because humans are infallible and don't learn as fast as technology.
So 10, 15 years from now, rather than having servants and maids and chauffeurs, we'll have robots serving us.
Before we arrive at the utopian world of the Jetsons, the shift is likely to be a bit more dystopian.
So now what happens to the people? What happens to the Uber drivers? What happens to the truck drivers? What happens to the entire support system around these people? It begins to vanish. Over another 5-year period, we're going to wipe out millions of jobs in the United States and tens of millions of jobs in the developing world. What happens to those people?
Hey, I'm Joel. Thanks for watching part 1. I hope you'll stick around for part 2, where I talk about how automation will affect cities.
Robots will create winners and losers.
People sitting in that meeting crying, think they was going to have a job.
In my generation, this town there's no future for us here.
The people who will be most affected are not the people with power.
But you have a segment of America that's so angry, that's so left behind, that's so ignorant, that they're feeding all of this hatred and this anger.
This is a tale of two Americas, the one that collapsed and the one that's about to. The manufacturing decline caused the hollowing out of the American heartland. But the big question now is, what cities will automation destroy? Many of the cities expected to be hit the hardest have the feel of a boomtown, but that will change as automated vehicles, service robotics, and artificial intelligence displace jobs by the millions.
Las Vegas is the very place where we expect the highest amount of jobs at risk to being automated away by robots and drones and artificial intelligence.
That's Johannes Monius, a professor of business who has been studying where automation is going to hit the hardest. Some of those jobs are high-paying, like loan officers and paralegals, while others are classic blue-collar professions like security guards and drivers. Johannes took those studies and looked at which American cities could be most affected by automation. He found that 65% of the jobs in Las Vegas could technically be automated in the coming decade.
What people don't understand is that the effect of automation will be much more profound than the effects of international trade.
Johannes was in town to present his findings at an economic forum. He didn't have good news. It's a hard message to deliver because today, Vegas is doing relatively well.
Case scenario is a social unrest. You know, that's, and I'm actually expecting that this will happen no matter what. It's hard to predict where it's going to happen.
Part of the reason Vegas is prone to automation is the high number of service jobs. And though few expect all jobs to be replaced, a few robots are already working.
They'll come up to me when I'm like on the floor and they're like, "Are you a robot?" I'm like, "No, not yet."
At this point, the robot is more of a gimmick than a replacement of a worker, but it's a glimpse of what's coming.
Well, my name's Jeremy Bagby. I'm a technician here for the robots. I monitor them whenever I'm here, make sure they're running properly.
Many in the tech world argue that advancements will create more jobs, and Jeremy serves as one of those examples.
Like, at least as far as our bar goes, there's not really that threat of automation. They're nowhere near being as good as an actual bartender. And I think that when they established this place, the idea was, hey, look at this robot bar. That's pretty cool. Look at the robots making you drink. It's kind of cute. Look at them. They shake it. That's cool.
No one's going to want to talk to a robot. Until they have a personality, of course. Then we'll see. I actually ordered a Cosmopolitan because I knew it was going to have like some shaking and stuff like that to go ahead and see some of the cool stuff.
And what do you think?
It was strong.
Automation is already making steady gains in Las Vegas. Nevada's casino employment peaked in 2001 at 59,908. By 2016, it had dropped to less than 41,000. It's not just the Strip. Jobs on the outskirts of the city are at risk in call centers, loan offices, and restaurants. In 10 years, Las Vegas could look like America's Rust Belt does today.
I'll look at them and say, hey, do you know that your job specifically has a probability of more than 90% of being gone a couple of years down the road?
The manufacturing collapse hit hundreds of towns with endless rounds of layoffs and factory closures that gutted the middle class in the American heartland.
The numbers of manufacturing jobs that are lost, especially in the Rust Belt. We're losing companies. It's unbelievable. One after another. Just one after another.
We've been through technological change before, just not at this pace. The first industrial revolution started in the late 1700s with the mechanical loom, while the second brought things like mass production, assembly lines, and electricity. The third was defined by computers and the beginning of automation in manufacturing. Job displacement in this fourth industrial revolution is already underway as automated vehicles, drones, robots, and artificial intelligence are all coming online.
My name is Brenda Battle, and I worked at United Technology Carrier for 25 years. They replaced a human with a robot. Naturally, there was a lot of kinks at first and the process of learning how to run it properly. But I got used to it.
Brenda's factory became a major political symbol in 2016 when President-elect Trump came to the factory and promised to save jobs.
But deep down, a lot of people knew he wasn't going to save our jobs.
Trump met with the CEO of Carrier and announced that they had reached an agreement.
Because they're not leaving this country. They're not going to leave this country. And the workers are going to keep their jobs.
The former leader of the local steelworkers union, Chuck Jones, literally did not believe what he was hearing.
I'm sitting there thinking, the lying son of a bitch.
Trump attacked Chuck on Twitter, but Trump exaggerated the number of jobs staying in Minneapolis. After the announcement, CNBC's Jim Cramer interviewed Carrier's CEO.
We're going to make a $16 million investment in that factory in Indianapolis to automate, to drive the cost down so that we can continue to be competitive. What that ultimately means is there will be fewer jobs.
Automation is well underway, and its effects are so severe that some economists are already calling it the Great Displacement. 85% of the manufacturing jobs lost during the first decade of the century were due to technological change, not to international trade. The effects seen in manufacturing are set to spread to other industries. 25 people were employed for every $1 million of manufacturing in the 1980s. Today, just 5 workers are needed for the same output. Galesburg, Illinois became the political poster child for the manufacturing collapse after a Maytag refrigerator plant moved to Mexico in 2004.
Hello, Galesburg!
The town was a vibrant symbol of American success for decades.
I'm Richard Lindstrom. We're a 92-year-old business started by my grandfather.
Lindstrom's is the store that sold those Maytag refrigerators on Main Street.
We struggled as a downtown to try to keep those customers still coming here. Our population probably has shrunk maybe 10 to 15% from its high point in the mid-60s.
Now, Galesburg is representative of America's Main Street that still hasn't fully bounced back, more than a decade after big manufacturing left.
The technology and global competition, they're not going away. Those old days aren't coming back.
As the refrigerator went by these people who were working on it, they signed their names.
So is your name on here somewhere?
Well, I'm here.
There we go, Mike Patrick. I wanted to see what the empty factories of the Rust Belt could tell me about what's coming for the towns that empty from automation. So what was it like when the plant closed?
Well, it was such a helpless feeling.
A former union man in Galesburg, Mike Patrick, told me that automation has been a concern for decades and that the Maytag plant steadily required fewer workers as a result.
When they shut down, we had, in the plant, we had around 1,600 people run the same production that we would have been running when we had 4,000.
After plant closures, young workers were often able to find new occupations, while older workers retired or struggled to get by.
There was one job where the refrigerators rolled by and I just put a sticker, the Energy Guide sticker that goes on there, and just put it on, and that was it. It was like, you're either going to do this for 20 more years or you're going to do something else. So, and who'd have thought smoothies would have worked?
Just down Main Street, Walt McAllister opened a sandwich shop in the year that Maytag closed. His son Stephen is a local college student who runs a news website.
As it became more and more real, I think the town got a little desperate trying to find anything to replace the loss of jobs.
Still looking for manufacturing. In my generation, this town there's no future for us here, and it doesn't seem like the city really cares because they don't really want to make one, or won't even listen to what we believe will make a town that we would want to stay in.
Yeah, how's that make you feel?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
There's a myth that the loss of manufacturing was due entirely to international trade, and numerous politicians have capitalized on anger against foreign governments and workers.
We're going to pursue new trade deals that create higher wages and more opportunities for American workers, bringing back those magnificent words, made in the USA.
The reality is that automation has also been a major factor. Manufacturing productivity is no longer directly tied to employment. Output is actually at an all-time high, only employment didn't follow. Around 2000, it fell off a cliff. That's automation, and those jobs won't ever come back. Some experts say automation has contributed to a decline in the U.S. labor force, now at 62.7% of the total population. So what would you say to towns that are looking out 5 years or looking out 10 years at this upheaval that's coming? What needs to happen?
Oh, don't make the mistake that McGailsburg made 14 years ago. Don't act like it's not coming. It's coming. What do you want your town to be like in 10 years without those jobs? Those jobs aren't going to exist.
Back in Indianapolis, Kathleen works at the same plant that Brenda did.
When you get through with it, if they get rid of middle class, it'll be a whole lot of poor people. It'll be way more poor people than it will be rich. So
Kathleen doesn't expect her job at Carrier to last much longer, and she's gotten involved in union work.
She's currently one of the top 5 officers in the local.
I right now run a union office at work.
And she don't know when her job will eventually play out, but pretty soon, pretty sure it's going to.
Yeah.
So the unknown.
Yeah. Have you heard people that have found similar level jobs?
I have not. I have not. And definitely no jobs with the same amount of pay. A lot of people just, mentally just like in shock about, what their next move is going to be.
You always want to remain optimistic on anything, and with the situation as it is, there's not a lot of good paying jobs these people are going to be able to go to. And, for the most part, a lot of people's lives are ruined.
So the thing that keeps me up at night is the fact that the people who will be most affected are kind of in the worst position to do something about it.
Jess Chen is an expert on the potential effects of automation. We drove around Las Vegas, and Jess pointed out neighborhoods that her research suggests are at the highest risk.
And we find that Hispanics have a 25% higher chance of having their job automated than whites. And African Americans have a 13% higher chance than whites of job automation.
The first fully automated shuttle launched in Vegas last year. And it's not just driving. A diverse range of jobs could disappear throughout the city.
Are we going to see social unrest? And so there's not consensus in the industry about that. But I think there's greater agreement about what this means for inequality.
Patrick Callahan runs a program for young people looking to get the necessary skills for technology jobs.
I think our responsibility, and our responsibility as a society, is to retrain these folks for the jobs that are going to be there, not the jobs that are always there today, but the jobs of the future.
You got your /S?
There's a /S.
Does anyone truly want to be stuck in fast food their whole lives? Some of us don't get that option to change, and I'm glad this program gave me that option. Which is why Xcopy doesn't actually work, which is why I was fooled.
Tech Impact is funded by companies like Microsoft and Accenture, illustrating how tech companies recognize the need for retraining.
My name is Anthony Castellano. I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Pretty much lived here all my life. I graduated high school, and afterwards I didn't really have a plan.
Would you have been able to save the kind of money that you would need to get through something like this?
I would say no.
Ironically, Anthony's night job is as a janitor at a company that makes automated gaming machines like roulette and blackjack, games traditionally run by humans.
They always have slot machines wide open, and all the wires are in there, all the motherboards, everything. It gives me kind of an encouragement to see, okay, I could be working with this instead of working with trash. And if I keep doing well in school, so it's since it's right there in my face, it's a really good motivator.
That question, the very motivation of work itself and the foundations of why we humans labor, may be at risk, as some question how much labor there will actually be to go around.
We can live in comfort and security. The trouble is we don't have jobs, and therefore we lose our identity. We lose what we are. We lose our social stature. You have to have a social structure in which you earn money in return for something, because that's the way humans are motivated.
Hey, I'm Joel with AJ+. Thanks for watching part 2.
Technology is like Pandora's box. Once it's open, you can't really close it.
There is going to be a downside to this technological progress. Automation is going to further concentrate wealth in the hands of the few who own the robots.
We need to think of a new social structure, new purposes for human beings.
I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Do you think that we're in a danger zone?
Definitely. I think any conversation about artificial general intelligence or like robots taking over is a distraction to the real question that we have to answer, which is what are we going to do about the people whose jobs are displaced?
I'm at a Silicon Valley robotics show with Adam Kell, a partner at a venture capital firm that focuses on artificial intelligence and robotics. Techies like Adam are battling it out to own the machines that will replace jobs like lawyers, loan officers, doctors, and truck drivers. The result is likely to be a radical deepening of inequality that could challenge our very ideas about the nature of work.
There are bigger questions about what will happen to capitalism when scarcity is no longer kind of a factor, because that's what we're talking about. I mean, like when we build the tools that can fully automate these processes, then we're not limited by human labor to be able to put stuff together.
Millions of people are expected to lose careers in the next decade from various forms of automation.
If you think about mobile phones, like they totally changed us as consumers, but they didn't really change the way work was done. This new generation of technology is absolutely going to do that.
San Francisco, with its tech industry dominance and crushing housing crisis, is a window into the inequality of today.
We're tired of standing on these corners. We want Nikes and we want Pampers for our kids, just like everyone else does, but we have not been afforded the opportunity to walk in these tech cathedrals.
Del Seymour worked his way out of homelessness and founded a group that trains low-income workers and homeless for tech jobs. They've had success stories, but it's an uphill battle.
Well, of course, there's frustration and anger outside. I mean, we're like the little kid in the Dickens novels, a little homeless kid that's standing outside the restaurant looking through the window while people are sitting there carving a steak. That's how we feel every day.
Jobs in trucking, fast food, and factories have long been avenues for those without higher education to have a middle-class living or simply to stay afloat.
If you had an environment with only automated systems, basically orders would come in from the e-commerce side, the robot would go pick the item, put it in the tote, the items would then be put into a box, and then a label would be automatically placed on it. You obviously wouldn't need any people in that environment.
Yeah. They're just fine. They'll go around you.
Yeah.
So they can replan on the fly and make decisions about where to go and what to do.
Melanie Wise is CEO of Fetch Robotics, a company that specializes in automated warehouse robots.
It's something that a lot of warehouse managers want, where you can turn the lights off in a facility and just have it operating without any people in it.
I asked Melanie if she thought her robots could reduce jobs.
And one of the biggest things that the industry is trying to tackle right now is there's not enough people to do the work.
Hiring has been on a steady upward trajectory as jobs in warehouses have largely replaced jobs in the brick-and-mortar retail industry. But that could change as sales of warehouse and logistics robots increase to $22.4 billion by 2021, up from less than $2 billion in 2016.
We need to rethink capitalism itself. And we have another 5 years, 7 years before it gets ugly. But after a 5 to 10 year period, we will start to see turmoil, and we will have to start thinking about this. It's time to start learning and adapting right now.
Economic fears have prompted some to prepare for the possibility of societal collapse. Adam Taggart gave up his job at Yahoo to prepare for drastic changes that he sees as inevitable.
Those with the money, and I realize this is the 0.001% we're talking about, but are buying retreat properties either here in America or internationally. And I think that got people's attention of, all right, these are legit smart people. What do they know that we don't know?
Some in the tech world have bought secret getaways, bunkers, and guns to prepare for collapse. They're a minority, though the concerns are widespread. Here's the former chief economist of the Senate Banking Committee.
In a number of realms, we are socially and resource and financially unsustainable. And those unsustainabilities tend to climax in some kind of violence unless they're preempted with intelligent policy.
policy solutions have been plunging the country deeper into inequality, even as it has become a central political issue.
This growing inequality, not just of result, inequality of opportunity. This growing inequality, it's not just morally wrong, it's bad economics.
So should tech leaders stop innovating or working towards these advancements? I wanted to ask Silicon Valley's inventors these questions, those creating the labor-saving robots of the future.
We automate what we can automate, right? We're going to keep doing that. That's how we get more productive. We've been doing that for thousands of years. Robots are about 50 years old. The last 15 years have been really an explosion in terms of the technology, and the last 3 or 4 years have been an explosion in terms of investment in robotics.
Worldwide annual spending on AI is expected to increase from $12 billion in 2017 to nearly $60 billion in 2021.
We can sit back and say, we don't want to adopt robots, we want to protect jobs, and that's great. China will basically build everything for us for the foreseeable future.
For those involved in building these technologies, it's an all-out battle. Cousins makes a robot butler that is being used for deliveries in workspaces like offices, hospitals, and hotels.
My name's Andy Evers. I'm the general manager here at the Aloft Cupertino, here in Cupertino, California, right next to the Apple campus. On the overnight shift, we have one person staffing the front desk, so it's very convenient for the staff to be able to put things into the relay robot and have it delivered to the room. You know, the robots, if we can get them to figure out how to, clean the floors and deliver items to rooms and make beds, then that's great. It would just allow us to offer more service to our guests.
Silicon Valley is a testing ground for technologies that have changed our lives and a window into unintended downsides. It's also where some of the fiercest political debates are beginning over our automated future.
It's one of the biggest issues that's facing this country over the next decade, and not enough people are talking about it.
That's Jane Kim, a San Francisco city supervisor running for mayor, who has proposed a robot tax to help correct the inequality that is now a defining characteristic of the Bay Area.
San Francisco has the fastest growing income gap between the rich and the poor of any city in the country.
The income gap comparing annual pay between the wealthiest and poorest 20% grew in San Francisco by more than $70,000 in 5 years. That has made San Francisco into a city with glittering tech towers, fancy cars, and multi-million-dollar homes on every street.
I want to say that I do think automation is a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's going to increase our productivity. It's going to grow our economy. It's going to, help save lives and maybe even fight climate change. But there is going to be a downside to this technological progress. Automation is going to further concentrate wealth in the hands of the few who own the robots.
Tech companies employ relatively few people when compared to the corporate behemoths of the past. At its height, Kodak was worth $28 billion and employed 140,000 people. When Instagram was sold to Facebook for $1 billion, there were just 13 employees. Blockbuster Video employed 60,000 people at its peak in 2004 on revenue of $5.9 billion, while Netflix employs just 4,400 people on revenue of $2.5 billion.
Much of this innovation has been subsidized for decades by taxpayer dollars. And so we are where we are because we have all contributed to the research and development of automation.
Kim's robot tax has been fiercely opposed by many in the tech world.
Yeah, let's tax innovation. Good idea.
What's your take on it?
I don't think it's a good idea. You shouldn't stop innovation because you're afraid that rich people will get richer. What you should do is figure out how you can make all of us wealthier and then talk about redistribution in ways that make sense.
If you don't put some ideas out there, even if they're ones that people hate or have strong reactions to, then you're not going to be able to push a dialogue and get people to move on a really important issue.
In San Francisco, the situation is dire. A family of 4 here making under $105,000 per year is now considered low income by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The housing crisis in the area is so severe that many have simply left or fallen into homelessness. Arnell Clark grew up in East Palo Alto, the heart of Silicon Valley, surrounded by the headquarters of Apple, Facebook, and Google.
I always thought that East Palo Alto could use some more companies, as prestigious as Facebook is, but I hate what them coming to the community has done to it.
Arnell couldn't afford to rent a home in the area, so he moved his family into an RV.
A lot of the people who live in motorhomes are taxpayers. You know, they work every day. They have families that they're trying to raise.
The RVs have become an option of last resort for working poor as rents in the area have skyrocketed.
I'm just grateful that my children, they love us and love what we bring to them. So.
As inequality has worsened nationwide and automation has spurned fears of social collapse, some tech titans have suggested a social safety net of free money known as universal basic income.
Our robot tax proposal is just one of many tools that we're considering in a portfolio of policies to address automation, and I'm certainly looking at universal basic income as well.
The idea is simple. Give every citizen guaranteed income with no strings attached.
People might say, oh, we don't want to give handouts. But giving handouts, there's nothing shameful about giving handouts or receiving them in a situation where you have vast amounts of new wealth creation.
But it's not an idea that comes without controversy.
It gives no incentive to work. It gives all the kind of reasons why you don't work. That would be a tragedy. That would be oh my God, no. Now when you look at automation, it makes the product better. It makes the efficiency of the factory better. It makes for a faster delivery of the product. But you still have to have a very advanced staff to maintain those robots.
Still, some of the biggest names in the tech crowd are supporting the idea of universal basic income.
I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
And now it's time for our generation to define a new social contract.
The question now is, will we prepare for the change that seems sure to be headed our way?
The experts, academics, tech leaders are all sounding the same alarm bell, which is that automation is going to destroy certain jobs and tasks. And I think it's incredibly important that those that are reaping the benefits of this technological progress contribute their share to address the downsides as well.